How's it going, guys? This is episode 3 of Millennials Crushing It. I have actually one of my good friends, Julian, here to talk about living what I call the laptop lifestyle. He's here in DC right now. I met him originally in DC. He went and lived overseas for quite a few years, owned a successful company overseas, growing a company back here. And I kind of want to highlight some of the things that he did overseas, because I cannot tell you how many people that I have talked to that have dreamt about living overseas, but are just afraid to, make the move, or afraid to take the chance to do it. And Julian, my good friend, actually did it, experienced it. He's back, growing his company. He's going to go do it again. So, want to introduce you? Say hi.
Hello, Internet.
So, real quick, what made you, or what inspired you to go live overseas?
Well, first of all, thanks, Ben, for having me. And from DC home to Virginia home, we're not far, but Zoom meeting it is. Yeah, thanks a lot. What inspired me, man? Well, first of all, let me just introduce myself just to people who don't know me. I'm imagining this might be seen by a lot of my friends and family, plus maybe other people that I share it with. But so if I don't know you, nice to meet you. If I do know you, hello again.
I should have started this way. I'm sorry.
That's okay. For the people who have not met me yet, my name is Julian Bach. I live in Washington, D.C. currently. I am from the great state of Ohio. I went to school in North Carolina. I've been in D.C. off and on for the last 7 years. And I just recently moved back to the States last summer, in July. And yeah, but what inspired me, actually, where did I move back from? I moved back from Cambodia. I was living in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, and that was a lot to describe in one sentence. But the reason I moved there, though, yeah, that's the idea, right? The reason I moved there was, well, first of all, one of my best friends from Ohio had already been in Cambodia for about a year, and he was really inspired by the startup scene there, by the networks that he saw overlapping, by the business opportunities, and everything in between in the tech sector. And so he was really inspired by that. He's also a world traveler, has been bouncing around different countries since he was in high school. And so he was really the one that beckoned me to say, Julian, get your ticket. Literally, he would say, get your ticket every day to me until I bought that ticket, right? And so, because it's such a leap to go,
it is, and that's one of the things that most people have the fear of, is that initial leap. It's like jumping off the cliff.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. It does feel like jumping off the cliff. It also feels like it's hard to explain to people. There's so many nuances to it, but what are you doing and why are you leaving? Nobody understands it, and especially if they've never left the country. Which I hadn't really left the country for more than 3 months before that either. So, So the thing that really got me to go, literally around the world, it's about 24 hours of travel to Cambodia. One connecting flight. It's a long way. But that's the easy part, to be honest. Once you hit the ground in Cambodia, it's the lifestyle and the differetions are just so vast that it's hard to describe. But it helps to have something you're working on when you go to a place like that. But the reason that Cambodia was where we chose, and I'll tell you about what we're doing in a minute, but Cambodia itself, it's ripe even before you even know what you're trying to do. This is what I tell friends of mine. Even if you don't know what you want to do right now, you could go to Southeast Asia, right? Southeast Asia, mainly Vietnam, Cambodia, Thailand, Indonesia, Malaysia, any of these are all available to you because, especially as a Westerner with, an American passport, for example, you have the entry ticket, like the golden ticket, right? You might pay a few visa fees, right? If you don't know what a visa is, look it up. Not the credit card. But it's basically your stamp in, right? And it's your permission to be in a country. That alone is just impetus to go, right? And so whether you go visit or whether you want to just move, it's not that hard, and it's a lot cheaper than in America. Even in the poorest places in America, it's still cheaper to be in Cambodia daily, So anyways, my goal there, what was our goal? We had this vision, right? Our vision was, let's start a marketing agency, right, of our own. Let's just hustle and let's do it. We can do it. Like, what's going to stop us? Nothing, right? Nothing really, nothing other than ourselves, and so, yeah, so this was my first endeavor, really. This is my first jump to, out on my own. I had worked in DC. I can tell you my background, but we can look me up on LinkedIn, but essentially been in DC for 5 years. And I had kind of hit a point where I'm like, all right, I'm ready for something new, and I think I'd met you, Ben, in maybe a couple years before I left. And been really happy connecting with you, and also a lot of it was hard to leave. It's a hard city to leave.
I remember the last time I saw you, like, it was at the dinner that we had, and like you were just like, hey, I'm ready to go, and it was like, it was so exciting because I don't see that many people taking, I hate to say the word chances, but I hear so many people talking about it, and you were just like, I'm doing it. I was just like, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, it is awesome. It feels great. Like, and I appreciate that, because that's the encouragement that is required sometimes. It really, you need that. You need people around you. And that you have to have people around you that encourage you, or else you're just you're going to be out alone. Even if you have the greatest, most innovative ideas, in the room, if you're not in the right conversation, if you're feeling like oppressed, people are putting you down, or they're shooting your idea, go over there. Go talk to those guys, and that's what I did. I think I met you, just talk to you because, and so that's what I mean. I say go to what you're attracted to. Go, where your ideas are going to be, mirrored and resonate. That people are going to resonate with what you're doing. And so, that dinner. I mean, I talk about that a lot, actually. That dinner. Trying to stay on topic here, but those type of events, those type of gatherings where you're around people that. You told us not to bring business cards out, and we couldn't talk about what we do.
Actually, like real quick, so nobody probably on the video knows about the dinner.
Okay.
From your perspective, actually, I want to hear from your perspective. What was that dinner?
That dinner was, it was first off something interesting to do on a Wednesday night, I believe, or a Friday night, whatever it was. Something that I didn't know what to expect, right? I got an invite in the email, but overall that dinner was a group of people that were, brought together who normally maybe would not interact, but they were put in a position where, we're asked to just be. We're asked to just be people and share, and not and kind of remove this identity that we put on, like this identity that we use, And even though that's important to us, it's tied to us. Like not talking about what we, and this is a long-winded way to describe it, but not talking about what you do daily is so important, because that's our identity most of the time in this city.
And I'll kind of jump in. So we hosted a dinner. It was a get together. It was catered food. Had catered food come in, and what I did is the people that were invited. You are not allowed to talk about your day job, your profession, or your accomplishments. You were only allowed to talk about your profession. So, and then we had a great time. Everybody with wine, beer, catered food. And at towards the end, we brought everyone together, and based on the conversations that we had during the whole dinner, we had everybody guess what their job was. Right? Yeah. People would guess what they did. And it was kind of cool, just seeing how off it was career-wise based on the passions. And it's one of the things that, so DC, this, Julian, it's a very status-driven city. It's a very what do you do for work? And it was trying to destroy the barriers of the status so you can have a real conversation and you can develop a real relationship that night.
Yeah.
And that was the goal of that one.
Yeah.
And I love that you still remember them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it was impactful. Those are moments, those are the Twitter moments, if you will. Those are the moments that you want to remember. Especially in an environment like DC is a wonderful city. I mean, we could have a whole, episode or podcast about what's going on in DC right now, and how great it is. It's awesome, but it's also its own thing. And it's in this world that you do have to live in. And you kind of just adapt. I mean, you adapt to living in DC, and hello, how are you? What do you do? That's the first question people ask, And
Yeah.
and so it gets old. So that was a reverb, a remix of that.
Let's go back to you. Let's.
Yeah. Well, I mean, no, but I appreciate that. But back to me, I mean, well, I guess tying this all together, right? Like tying together that moment, even prior to that, I think I was ready to leave, not leave. I guess I was ready to get in a new environment, to kind of put myself in a new environment. And this was the perfect opportunity. It wasn't, a quick decision. Like it really took me a lot of time to like give up a salary, give up healthcare benefits, right? All this, like give up DC lifestyle, right? Like give up, it's a great life here. I tell people like, you should come to DC. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. Like it's great.
I agree with you.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's really a good place. It's clean. I mean, it can go on and on. But I had this yearning to really just to see something, what else was available to me at this time in my life. And then obviously it helps to be doing, digital / marketing web, type of work already. And already having my hands around that helped a lot, but it wasn't required. I feel like I could, if I was doing something completely different and I wanted to start something in Asia, I could go right now and go try it and potentially be successful, like a much higher degree than I am here. It's a lot easier to start things over there.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah. So, and that was what my friend was telling me, he was like, and that's why I'm trying to tell others, like, he's like, look, man, we can start something yesterday, and it doesn't take the low barrier to entry. It's a very low barrier to entry in Asia.
So I want to just like 5-10 seconds. Like you mentioned that inkling, that thing, like digging, like the little thing that was bugging you.
Yeah.
Like 5-10 seconds. Like what was it? And like, how does our generation actually listen to it and do that?
Yeah. What was bothering me, my itch was, I was ready. I was tired of the 9 to 5. I mean, there's benefits to 9 to 5, but I was tired of just being in the same place, I think. And I also felt like this need to just, I don't know, to see what else I could do with my energy, and because I know it, like you do something long enough, you're like, okay, I know I can do this. I get it. Like I could just stay in that job forever, and no one would blame me. Right. But I know that
nobody would.
No, they'd be like, you're doing a great job for 10, 15 years. I mean, and I'm happy that other people do that, but that's not for me. And the second part of the question was, how do you get to do that?
Like, how do we listen to it and how do we actually act on it?
How do you listen to it? Well, journaling helps. I journal a lot, right?
Actually, that's great advice.
Yeah. Like writing down like thoughts and like, what you're actually going to, like, what do you want to talk about? What are you doing? Just what are you thinking about? Like, what do you want internally? If you like, even if you don't like to write, you can force yourself to write. Hopefully you can write. If you can't, then you can talk, you
can type Google Voice, like, type it all out.
Yeah.
I can't write.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anything. But that was mine. And journaling from an early, from high school actually has helped me a lot. But really listening to like, what you're inspired by and then trying to match that with what is going to like, keep the lights on and bring money into your bank account. You have to have money in your bank account to do shit. Excuse me. You have to do stuff, right? Like,
you can cuss.
Okay, good. Yeah.
Millennials are fucking making shit happen. There we go. We're cussing. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Inspiration, like what's inspiring you, but to wake up to that and really, it's hard to know that when you're in the moment and you're working all day. It's really hard. And you got 2 days on a weekend and then you're just trying to relax. You're not really trying to do any kind of mental work. It's hard in a city like this. So you got to carve out the time for it.
Well, how about this? The people that are thinking about going overseas to go work and living like what maybe we call it the laptop lifestyle, or living in Southeast Asia to start a business or do things, what is the biggest piece of advice that you could give them?
Oh, wow. I would probably say, don't be scared. Don't be intimidated. And trust yourself, like really just trust yourself that you can do it. Like that like there's nothing going to hold you back. Like it's really only your mental state that's going to hold you back. Like even if you're in debt, even if you're like, you're disabled, if you're you don't have a degree yet, like all these things that we think we're handicapped by, like I mean, I'm not saying like just jump ship, you know, and like just even though the water, you know, the water's freezing, like, you know, if you think it's treacherous, then it's probably not a good idea. But like if you have a feeling you're pushed to do it, be smart about it. Make a plan and just run with it, and people will like applaud you and follow it. You know, people have come up to me in DC many times and said like, you've inspired me to go, and I'm leaving for Oakland or I'm leaving for this place, and you inspired me to do it because I wanted to go. I'm like, awesome. Like, you know, like great, like, because it's really just go. Don't wait.
Did people tell you that it was a dumb idea?
People they thought I was crazy for like, well, when you say Cambodia, people like, I mean, I picked one of the places that, you know, people really like have no idea about, and they've heard horror story, literally Khmer Rouge horror stories. And so, but yeah, they thought I was crazy. They thought I was like, you know, thought something was going to go wrong, you know? And so, and there's potential for stuff to go wrong but there's potential for stuff to go wrong here. Like somebody could run into you while you're biking on your nice bike with your helmet. Somebody could screw up with their driving because you know, it's like, get out there. Don't be so afraid. That would be my advice.
So now that you're back, like I know you're growing a marketing agency, like you're doing great things here. Like, have you learned anything overseas that you've been able to implement here to help with your success?
Yeah, man. Well, you know, I have, absolutely. And I would say it's probably specific to the region that I was in. So, you know, take it as you will. Like, I mean, so obviously I brought it back, but the way that things are done in Southeast Asia, the way business is done, the way that people think about, you know, relationships, and the way that people respect and order and law and taxes and everything else, and startups and opportunity and hiring, all of this stuff is thought about differently. Like, and it's conceived of differently, and it's coming from a Western, you know, mindset. Like the West is influencing the East now, and so, but there's still Eastern values there, right? So I'll break that down if you want me to in a minute. But you know, what I brought back really is like, well, on different fronts. So on the business front, and I'm not a business person. Like I've never cared about making that much money. You know, I've always been like, number one, how can I make an impact? Are people in my life happy? Are the people around me, you know, feeling good, and am I happy, you know? But now I've realized that like in Asia, and that's why I'm saying it's very regional. Like the stuff I've learned is quite specific to the region, and I really did learn a lot. Like once you live in a place long enough, you become part of that place. Right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
Like I learned the language in Cambodia. I learned how to like, you know, be with people, you know, and obviously a lot of even just being around Asian people, like, and that sounds very like generalist, but there are things that a lot of Asian people do in that region, right? Even just greeting, you know, like like say this is such a good sign to have, you know, like the thank you or peace or whatever you want it to mean, that they just appreciate it, you know? So I do that now. I brought that back. Like I do that all the time, right? You know, thank you. And people, it's a universal sign of like saying thank you, but it's a little thing like that, you know, I think that's kind of emblematic of how I've changed. Like I'm much more patient now with people. I'm much calmer. Like I've seen so much crazy stuff in Asia that like, you know, and I've just been around such like varying environments, like physical environments, right? Like work environment, right? And everything is kind of like, you're always the foreigner. Like being a foreigner is such a good thing. It teaches your brain to like, you know, just to not take anything for granted and to be humble, you know? And
oh my God, we take so much for granted here.
yeah, we do. It's insane. So yeah, it's really, I mean, being abroad is its own conversation, but then in terms of like, you know, having something to lean on, like a company or a startup or an idea, you know, there's so much I could talk about there. And, you know, it really, obviously I can talk about what I've done over there, but in a more general level, like if people are looking to go abroad, right? Like if people are listening right now, I would encourage you to, and even you, Ben, if you're interested, I don't know what you want to do in a few years, but you know, pick a good city. Like Ho Chi Minh City is a great place. Phnom Penh is a great place too. It's just less developed, and that's the nice way to put it. Or it's just a mess. I mean, it is like a war zone, but it's beautiful. Like the people are amazing and so sweet, and there's just left and right opportunities. And so, whereas Ho Chi Minh's a lot more developed, and so it's a little more like harder to get into the market, but there's still a lot of opportunities left and right for expats, right, or foreigners like us.
Yep.
If you speak native English, you are going to be an asset. And I don't just mean to teach English. Like, everybody wants you to work for their company, and
Interesting.
to be what they call the white face, which is like, they want, or the foreigner that speaks good English, they want that. So if anything, you can go do that. But in the meantime, I mean, if you have an idea, like bringing that back though, like I guess coming back to the States is a whole another level. But I like to talk about being there because that's its own world, So there's different worlds. There really are different worlds. So, you got to tell me what you want me to impart, and I can.
So I guess, and we're going to probably like roll it into like rolling out like 2 last questions. And the last questions are, I like to ask, what is the one piece of advice that you would give to your fellow millennials?
Wow. Yeah. Well, millennials, listen up. It's a precarious world we're in, but I would say just hang. If you're in a bad place right now, don't give up, because there's so much out there for us. We need to wake up to it. And I think that's why I encourage people to just be around people that encourage you. Call them, text them, spend time with them, invite them over, be around the encouragers, and whatever idea you have, and whatever you write, wherever it lives, whether it lives on your blog or it lives, in the book you're reading, or, in the podcast you listen to at lunch, whatever it is you're doing, feed it, keep feeding it, and start to have some type of plan, and start talking about that plan with people. Start to, I'm not saying like, hey, I'm thinking about leaving my job tomorrow, or, or next month. And people are going to freak out. You got to give them pieces. They're not going to be able to respond to that. But that's been really good for me, is just to and that's been so important. Having that feedback, it's the reciprocal, this nature that, where you give ideas, you share your ideas with people, and they love you back with encouragement or criticism. Criticism also is love.
Either way, yeah. I mean, either way, and it's criticism. You got to figure out what kind of criticism it is too. Is it criticism because they love you, but they don't think you can make it happen, or is it criticism because it's an absolutely stupid idea?
Right.
And it's getting past that. It's sometimes push past it. I mean, how many times successful people have gotten criticism along the process of being successful?
Yeah. And you too. I mean, all of us. And we're individuals, but we're also we're
human.
Yeah, and people can, there's people that are older than you, or that have done stuff already. They can I think finding some advisors, finding someone to be an advisor for you.
Mentors, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, mentors, yeah. Wow, yeah. I mean, it's so crucial, and I saw that in Asia, especially when you're not at home anymore. If you're abroad, if you're living outside your home country, you need to be around the right people. You got to surround yourself. And I don't mean your best friends. Me and my best friend, we ended up, splitting up. We split the company up and we left, right? And we did our own thing. We kind of, and so that was for a lot of reasons, but it's also we learned that just because you're your best friend doesn't mean they're going to be, the one that you need to work with, but it doesn't mean you can't try it.
Point. Listen, sorry. Been there, done that, fully understand that. Last question. Mm-hmm. Right now, what are you most excited about? And we'll cap it at this.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. Well, I don't really watch sports, so no. So apparently, there's a lot of sports going on in DC right now.
Excited about with everything that you got going on.
No, I know. I'm just kidding. I know. No, we met last night. I'm not a sports guy. So what do we care about? A lot of people, it's you care about what's around you, right? You're excited about what other people care about sometimes. But I have a problem because I don't ever care about what a lot of people around me care about. But what I care about, what I'm really excited about right now is really developing deeper skill sets, number one, for the place I'm working for, right now. And also developing at the same time using, and what that is, inbound marketing, right? So,
okay.
Online content strategy, really deeper levels of marketing. and applying that to, different organizations and different types of clients. And so, and being able to understand the client, our client, and then also the people that our clients are feeding, right? So understanding the personas, like really getting the heads of consumers on a deep level, and using technology to do that, and using every resource available to do that more efficiently. And that is a very technical way to talk about, building up my own company eventually, right? Which, on a high level, that's the high level thinking. On the low level, you need a website, we'll do it. You need a Facebook marketing, I got you, So yeah, that's what I'm excited about.
And what I'm going to have his contact information in the notes. So make sure if you have any questions, reach out to Julian. But Julian, I just want to say thank you so much. I remember when we had that dinner, what was it, 2 years ago? I feel like time's flying.
2 years, yeah.
And hey, I'm going overseas. I am taking off. And it's just this thing, I've thought about it. I've had probably hundreds of people tell me that they've thought about it too. And you actually went and you fucking did it.
Yeah, man.
And
do it. Yeah.
And it's one of the reasons why I asked you to come share today. You've done it. You've lived it. An example of what we can do.
Absolutely.
So I want to say thank you for joining Millennials Crushing It. I probably have to think of something fancier, but whatever. I just enjoy spending time with people that are making shit happen.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, Ben.
Julian, thank you so much.
Yes,
Great
sir.
night, and I'll talk to you later, buddy.